Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in EDH. Today we are looking at God Eternal Oketra. Yes, this is a spicy one. So, God Eternal Oketra is a 5 mana 3/6 with double strike, legendary zombie god. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. Now that's the mainly important part. I'll read the rest just for the sake of it. When God Eternal Oketra dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, third from the top. That doesn't really matter. Again, the main thing we care about here is cast creature equals make a 4/4. So our primary mission is, as a white deck, we're going to stax our opponents out of the game and then win via beatdown by casting either a lot of creatures in a row or, more importantly, creatures that can bounce themselves and then be replayed to continue to make more and more 4/4s. So let's get looking at what is in the deck. So white card draw, obviously the One Ring and Skull Clamp, but then cards like Esper Sentinel, Archivist of Ogma, Trouble in Pairs. We've got cards which I am calling combo in this deck. Specifically, they combo in the sense of making more tokens with God Eternal Oketra. So there are things that just straight up increase the token production, so things like Anointed Procession and Mondrak. Defiler of Faith reduces the cost of white permanents by a single white and replaces those with a life payment. And in addition to that, also generates tokens. We have Oketra's Monument as a way to, again, generate more tokens and reduce the cost of casting white creatures. And then we've got the bouncing effects. So the most obvious ones are White Mane Lion and Core Skyfisher. Core Skyfisher can bounce anything, and White Mane Lion can bounce a creature. So this includes, of course, themselves. So for 2 mana, you can generate a 4/4 by triggering Oketra, and then the White Mane or Core Skyfisher can bounce itself and be replayed again for another 2 mana as many times as you can in order to continue to generate more and more 4/4 tokens. Then we have more expensive versions of these effects in Emancipation Angel and Stone Cloaker. We also have Meticulous Excavation as a way to pay 3 mana to return any permanent to the owner's hand. So for between 2 and 3 mana, depending on which card we have, we can cast and replay these creatures. Now, of course, the combo potential starts when we have cards via Cloudstone Curio, Phyrexian Altar, and combinations of the things that make extra tokens. So if we have something that reduces the cost of casting these, so for example, if we can make White Mane Lion or Core Skyfisher only 1 mana, then that means we only need 1 mana per 4/4. And since we're generating a token every time via Oketra, if we have Phyrexian Altar, we can sacrifice that token to generate a white mana. Then, if we have anything that increases the amount of tokens that we are creating, so things like Defiler of Faith, Oketra's Monument, Anointed Procession, or Mondrak, then we are actually netting mana and or creature tokens every time we do this loop, allowing us to generate infinite mana and infinite tokens. So as an example, let's say we have God Eternal Oketra, Anointed Procession, White Mane Lion, and Oketra's Monument. We cast White Mane Lion for 1 mana. It triggers Monument and Oketra. The Anointed Procession doubles them. We have 4 tokens. And then if we have Phyrexian Altar, we can sack up to 4 of those tokens to generate 4 mana. We only need 1 to recast the White Mane Lion. So we will wind up getting infinite white and infinite tokens. Now, obviously, this is a lot of cards to assemble. Oketra's combos are usually going to be at least 4 cards, so it's a lot. The upside, though, is that all of these cards are still good even when we don't have the entire combo assembled, and we're mostly looking to play a slower stacks game anyway, so it's not like we have to race to get all of this assembled in the first place. In terms of bouncing, Cloudstone Curio can also obviously do kind of the same thing. So if we have 1 mana creatures, not Esper Sentinel, unfortunately, because it is an artifact, but we have 1 mana creatures that aren't artifacts, we can potentially bounce them back and forth to keep generating tokens for only 1 mana at a time. Our 1 of Counterspell and Reprieve. Again, we are white, so we're mostly going to be relying on stacks. Our lands are incredibly straightforward. We have Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, Cavern, Gemstone, Urza Saga, War Room, and Witch Enchanter, and then a whole bunch of planes, because we're going to want to take advantage of stacks effects that care about us having basic lands so that we don't get punished while we can stacks our opponents out. Bunch of protection, so we've got a whole bunch of things that give protection, hexproof, indestructible, whatever, to Oketra, or that allow us to cast Oketra or whatever else that we're doing through counterspells, things like Cavern of Souls, Silence, etc. Bunch of ramp, because obviously Oketra is 5 mana, along with most of our other combo pieces and important cards, which also tend to be expensive, so we're just playing as much good ramp as we can get. A little bit of removal. We obviously need to be able to take out problematic permanents and other things on our opponent's side of the board. And then finally, the Stacks suite. So we've got our Rule of Law effects in Archon of Emeria, Deafening Silence, Aethersworn Canonist, Phyrexian Censor. We've got our Land Hate, Armageddon, Okori, Winter Moon, which is one of the big reasons that we want all planes. Winter Orb, Ravages of War, Static Orb. Again, we don't really care if we can't untap too much stuff as long as we can create tokens via Oketra and win the beatdown war, especially since those tokens have vigilance. Other effects, Leonin Arbiter, Linvala, Dranith Magistrate, Mind Sensor, Rip for the graveyard. Just whatever stacks we can get that's going to slow our opponents down and allow us to win the board war. And then the tiniest little amount of tutoring. So again, the plan is to either get Oketra as fast as possible and then put a bunch of tokens into play and beat down our opponent, or control the game with stacks effects and slowly build up a board with Oketra and then win that way. And we have potential combo plans depending on which of these we assemble, and can potentially be in a position to generate infinite mana and or beaters. And with that said, that is going to be God Eternal Oketra for EDH.